Republican Senator Lindsey Graham is out with his conditions that he says must be met before we sign on to any nuke deal with Iran. They include closing all of Iran's nuclear sites, certifying that Iran is no longer a state sponsor of terror, and allowing inspections of its military bases. Well, no dice on that, and Senator Lindsey Graham says no deal, period. Senator with me now. Senator, thank you very much.
Thank you.
What do you make, then, of the Iranians' insistence that the deal they have, which doesn't include a number of these features you want, is the only deal on the table, and you better approve it?
I don't think Congress will approve any deal that doesn't allow for any time, anywhere inspections of facilities in Iran, including military facilities, given the past behavior of the Iranians. So if you can't go anytime, anywhere, including military facilities, it will be inadequate in the eyes of an overwhelming majority of the Congress.
Do you think the Iranians are beginning to dial it back, Senator? By that, I mean this convoy, we're told, loaded with weapons for insurgents in Yemen, did a quick U-turn. We were following them with the pressure being that we would board them and look at those vessels. We hadn't tipped our hand that way, but then they turned around. That they even now feel that they went too far. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think you stand up to the Iranians, they usually fold. That's true of most thugs. But at the end of the day, don't tout this as a great turnaround in terms of Iranian behavior. Turning the ships around is a good thing, but Yemen has completely collapsed because of Iran, and the Iranians keep Assad in power, and he's the source of most of the problems in the Mideast. And so at the end of the day, you stand up to these guys, you get a better result.
Do you get a sense, though, that there's just not going to be a deal with Iran, that when all is said and done, especially the way they've handled it, maybe the White House has handled it, maybe the delayed congressional response as to how it should handle it, that it's just not going to happen?
Well, I don't know if a good deal would be a blessing, Neil. A bad deal would lead to a nuclear arms race. The worst possible outcome is to give the Iranians capacity for nuclear capacity that one day could be used to make a bomb like North Korea. I don't trust the Iranians, and my big fear is that we're about to make a deal that would give them a lot of capacity. The UN could not stop them from a breakout one day, and the Sunni Arabs are going to want a nuclear weapon of their own. And everything we give the Iranians, the Sunni Arabs are going to want. So I'd rather have no deal than a bad deal. And Congress having a check and balance here is absolutely essential to stopping a bad deal.
All right, speaking of things that are bad, maybe bad vibes, I had your friend and colleague, Senator John McCain, who's really pushing you for president, as I'm sure you're aware. But he brought up this, he responded himself to Senator Rand Paul's comments that essentially you two are lapdogs for the president's foreign policy. This is what Senator McCain had to say about Senator Paul.
Senator Paul is the worst possible candidate of the 20 or so that are running on the most important issue, which is national security.
How do you feel about him?
Well, I like Senator Paul. We've worked together on reforming Social Security and Medicare, and if you don't do that, when the baby boomers retire, we're going to destroy our economy in about 30 years. If he's our nominee, I'll support him. But on foreign policy, he's much closer to Ron Paul than he is to Ronald Reagan. And let me give one example of where I think his judgment has been insufficient and, quite frankly, flawed. 3 years ago, in 2012, I introduced a resolution in the United States Senate that said the following: we will not accept a nuclear-armed Iran and try to contain them. The policy of the United States will not be that of containment. You cannot contain this regime once they have a nuclear weapon. 90 senators agreed with my position. One senator opposed that, and that was Rand Paul. So I can't imagine having the one senator who rejected the idea of containment allowing a nuke in Iran, hoping you can contain them, to be the best negotiator. I don't think he's going to emerge from the primary field as the standard bearer of Republican foreign policy, but that will be up to the primary voters.
Have you talked to him, or has the senator called you, that is Senator Paul, since all of this came up?
We talk on the floor. I like him. We played golf.
No, I mean since this.
No. And, you know, it's not personal to me. I mean, I'm going to support the Republican nominee.
He called you a lapdog. That's pretty personal.
I've been called a lot worse than that. I've been called a lot worse. You know, you could criticize Senator McCain and myself, and I understand that, but I would put my record up against challenging Barack Obama's foreign policy against anybody in the country, and I've been on his case when I think he's failed, and he's failed miserably all over the globe. But when he does something I think makes sense, I'll support him. At the end of the day, this will be a foreign policy election, and I want to make sure the Republican we send into the arena with Hillary Clinton can make a case that she has empowered a failed foreign policy, that leading from behind will not work, that she was his Secretary of State, that Barack Obama's vision of the world has to be replaced, and quite frankly, I think almost everybody on our side, except Senator Paul, could make a case for a better foreign policy than Barack Obama.
But you know what he's
Hillary
saying
Clinton.
is that even though a lot of people concentrate on the lapdog comment, Senator, that you, maybe not personally, but certainly Senator McCain, who admitted as much yesterday, have also been pretty expressive and vituperative when it comes to choice adjectives for Senator Paul, to extension Senator Cruz, that there is this schism, maybe ill will, between two parts of the party, the up-and-coming libertarians, if you will, for want of a better term, guys like yourself and Senator McCain, who reflect more the mainstream view. Does the Republican Party have a problem on its hands?
I don't think any party has a problem on their hands when they have two different points of view. The Rand Paul approach to national security has been around for a very long time. He's more of an isolationist than I am. He supported the idea of leaving Iraq without any troops. He objected to a no-fly zone in Syria, which I think could have made a world of difference. And again, he was the only senator in the United States Senate who could not understand that it would be a bad idea to give the Iranians a nuclear weapon and try to contain them. He cut off in his budget all aid to Israel, saying they were a very rich country. They're a very small country surrounded by radical Islamic groups that want to wipe them off the face of the earth.
But you know what he's saying, though, Senator?
I'm glad we give money to Israel.
No, I understand, but I think what he's saying, what the Pauls are saying to a degree, the Cruzes and others, is that, you know, that this always in your face, very militaristic approach, very aggressive military stance just doesn't cut it anymore. For one thing, Americans have a great war fatigue, and that the appetite for being so aggressive in that region of the world just isn't there, and that Senators Paul, Cruz, guys like them, more reflect that view than do guys like you and Senator McCain. What do you say?
Well, all due respect, I think more Americans with me, and that is to keep the war from coming back here again. My goal is quite simple. Keep radical Islamic terrorists away from our shores, and that means, Neil, that some of us in our military and intelligence community have to fight them over there, partner with people in the region who reject their ideology, which is the vast majority.
So you're definitely running for president.
Well, I'm going to announce pretty soon my intentions, and I'm running on the idea, if I do run, as being the best qualified to be Commander-in-Chief. Now, to be honest with you, I've been far more right than wrong. I understood that President Obama made a mistake by not listening to our military when it comes to withdrawing all of our troops in Iraq. And everything that I predicted about Iraq and Syria has come true, unfortunately. And everything I'm saying about this deal with Iran leading to a bad deal is going to come true unless we stop it. So I'm ready to lead this country as Commander-in-Chief, 33 years in the Air Force. I've been over there more times than I can count. I understand who our friends are and our enemies, and we'll see what happens.
And you have an impressive life story, Senator. Thank you very, very much. Very good seeing you.
Thank you, Neil.